auditioning for American Idol a few years ago, and can you explain me your experience on that one?
A few years ago, and even up till this year, I'm too old to do this anymore, but I have auditioned for American Idol. And in 2019, I actually got through the producers. I got through to just prior to being on the television show. This was before COVID and the shutdowns and everything becoming remote. So this is like, you know, the realest of the real in terms of the audition process before everything going virtual. So I had received a front of the line pass. I don't even remember how I got it, but I got it. And which basically meant that I was pushed to the front of the line, and I got to basically cut in front of this long line in the super hot September Raleigh sun. So after I was done standing in line, I got to sing in front of a producer who had an awesome dog. She had a dog under her table, which was really cool, but that had nothing to do with my audition. But I got to sing my song. I sang Don't Stop Me Now by Queen on my ukulele, and I might have sang a second song. I just blacked out at that moment because she wanted to hear another song from me. And basically I had 3 people in my group, and she asked, you know, the 2 people to step forward. She didn't ask me to step forward, but at that point I was freaking out because I was like, what does this mean? I've never, you know, in the years that I have auditioned since 2016, this has never happened to me. So I started panicking naturally. She sent the 2 people in my group away and asked me to come forward, gave me a golden ticket for the winner's circle, which meant I could go inside in the AC, which was awesome. And it was a full day event of speaking to a bunch of producers, speaking to a bunch of people, a lot of waiting. It was just an insane amount of waiting. And then I got to sing my songs in front of producers again. They recorded it on a device, and they you know, asked me to prepare 3 songs. So I did the 3 songs, and they said that you know, I would hear back from them within a certain amount of time. They asked me what city I would like to actually audition in if I was selected to be on the show, if I was casted. So I don't remember what city. I think I said I wanted to go to Ohio because I'd never been. So I just picked a random city and was like, just put me anywhere, I'll go, just so I can travel. But then it just kind of fell through from there. I don't know why, if it was my song choice, if it was kind of like my story that I was bringing to the table. But it would have been cool to be on the show, but it's just not, you know, my journey to go on. A few years ago, I was a featured patient on Dr. Pimple Popper on TLC. That was a very, very interesting experience. So I struggle with eczema very chronically, and I have for maybe over 15 years now. It got to the point where it was spreading from my hands to other parts of my body. It was very painful. Aesthetically, it did not look good, so not only, you know, was it just horrible to live with, but it didn't look good or feel good. In terms of my music, it just really affected me. It was very hard to perform. I would get a lot of cracks in my knuckles and just all over the tops of the surfaces of my hands. And when my hands would start healing, because I would go, you know, a while without having a gig, I would, you know, have periods where I wasn't performing, and I wouldn't actually play often at home or on my downtime because I would want my skin to heal, which probably leads to why I don't have a process for writing, or why I, I take a lot of breaks in between playing because I'm so used to this routine with my hands that it's probably like war flashbacks for me. But when these cracks would heal on my hands and I would have a gig, the moment I would bend my hands, I'd feel my skin ripping open. So it was just really gruesome to deal with. And there was one gig leading up to me being casted to being for Dr. Pimple Popper. At the time, I didn't know, but I had a gig that was 3 hours long and I felt very unwell. My skin was super inflamed, like swollen, like there was a clear line on my wrist, and my skin on my hands was raised, like it was clear as day that something was not right with me. At this point, I had a really bad rash on my face. I had a really bad rash just kind of going up from my hands, up my arms, my armpits, the backs of my arms, the lady bits, and my body, like just like my whole body was having this reaction, and I had no idea what was happening. I thought it was an allergic reaction. I think it was the following day, like I was suffering, I was miserable. So I went to the ER, the wait was too long. I went to my allergist and she said, yeah, your body is in code red. You have secondary infection, you have staph infection, and you are close to developing sepsis. So immediately I was like, am I going to die? And she was like, right now, no. So I was pumped up with a lot of antibiotics, a lot of steroid. I wrote a lot of music surprisingly during that time because I couldn't sleep because of the steroid that I was on, the oral steroid. The infection relapsed, so I had to go on medication again. Like as soon as I was done with my first bout of staph, I had a relapse and had to go through it again. So I definitely had a small break from music there and performing. But when I saw Dr. Pimple Popper, I was confirmed to have eczema. We worked through a lot of history, which wasn't aired. There was a lot of stuff that wasn't aired that was very important to how we got to this treatment plan for me. I had taken injectables before for it, and I had an allergic reaction to it. It was a horrible experience, and I really specified to Dr. Lee that I did not want to be on injectables or biologics. I specified that I had OCD because I had just had staph infection, so I was afraid of my hands being dirty and my cuts being dirty, and that leading to another infection. We talked about allergies, environmental, to household chemicals. We talked about family history. We talked about autoimmune diseases possibly. We talked about so much that led to my treatment plan. And thankfully it was just eczema. It was just to a very chronic, severe degree. And thankfully what she had prescribed had helped me. When my 12-week update was filmed, it was still very prominent on my hands that I was in a flare, and it was calming down. But with the steroid, it makes your hands very red. It makes your hands very like thin, stuff like that. But thankfully, now my skin is so much better after 2.5 years. So I'm really fortunate that I don't have to worry about strumming my guitar too hard and my skin just shattering on impact and bleeding during sets, and just feeling really insecure as an artist, and feeling really insecure as a person, and feeling like I was not good enough because I wasn't pretty, or I couldn't live up to my potential as a guitar player because I was very limited. It was a lot of mental strength to overcome like the fears of like the insecurities and, my feeling of feeling disabled from, like, it sounds extreme saying like, oh, like being disabled, but it kind of was to some degree of, not being able to use my hands. Like, that's very important. But it was just a lot of reprogramming myself, especially where I am now. It's a lot of just saying, that time of my life is over, and, just moving on. And when I was in the thick of my flare up, it was a lot of trying to be positive. It was a lot of, that mental exercise of, there are, people out there who are suffering like me. I don't know who they are. I don't even know if there are people out there who are suffering to the degree that I am. So I want to push through and be a beacon, sort of, for people who have a condition similar to mine in terms of, eczema, like really bad on their hands, that, they could still be productive, they can still work, they can still create. Boundaries are only as prominent as you let them be. So if you, limit yourself and say, okay, I can't do this because of X, Y, and Z, then you're not going to do it. And I did tell myself that for a very long time, that, this is a defining marker of who I am. Now, when you ask me who Kayla Vega is, I didn't say, oh, I'm eczema, because I don't define that, I don't use that to define who I am. It's a part of me. It is something that I have lived with, and it's something that I still live with. It'll never go away. But if I speak it, it will be known, and I will let it, drag me down. But it's a fact of, if I say, I can do it, then I can do it. I recently opened for Phillip Phillips, which was an awesome experience. It was at the Taste of Charlotte Festival this past summer. I got that opportunity through a local radio station, Mix 107.9, and they were hosting a singing contest, basically, to perform at this Taste of Charlotte festival. And I was like, okay, it's due 11 o'clock tonight. Nothing says like last minute than submitting something last minute. So I had submitted basically like a minute before the clock turned, and it was a vote-based contest where they, whoever, like the top 5 people who had the highest votes would, be a part of this opportunity. I don't think at the time I even knew that I would be opening for Phillip Phillips. I think it just kind of got smacked on. It was like, hey, Phillip Phillips is going to be there. He was doing like a little promo tour for his album. So it might not be like the formal definition of like opening, but I still technically did, so it's cool. But I basically won first place in this like opportunity to perform. So I was selected to perform.
Hard to breathe when all you know is the struggle of staying above the rising waterline. Well, the sky is finally open.
So it was a huge crowd that day. It was really awesome. I got to meet Phillip Phillips himself. Really chill dude. And, definitely also kind of like another inspiration that he's out there doing, you know, his thing. He was on Idol, and you know, he's still out there making music. He's out there, he's touring, he has fans, and that is really admirable that, you know, he's out there and he's making a living doing what he's doing.
Now, do you keep in touch with him, or?
I do not keep in touch with him, sadly. I follow him on Instagram and I comment on his posts every once in a while, but no, I haven't spoken to him since, sadly. Phillip Phillips, if you want to collaborate, let a girl know.
Now, you also on stage with Grammy award-winning band Nickelback.
Yes.
Now, how did that came about?
Okay. In September, I also had this awesome opportunity, thanks to Mix 107.9, to perform on stage with Nickelback, which I love Nickelback. I'll get slack for that, but I love Nickelback, and I'll back them till the day I die. I love them. First CD I actually bought, believe it or not, was a Nickelback album. So it was a radio show contest, basically, where callers would call in. It was like they played a game. Like the first to 5 would get put into a drawing to win an opportunity to be a rock star for the day, and they would get to sing with Nickelback. They would sing Rockstar. So I did not think anything of it. I was just like, okay, like I'm gonna call in. I got put into the drawing because I won that that little game that we played. It was a whole week of callers, so I really did not think that I had a winning chance to have this opportunity until I got a call from a representative from the radio station. And once they realized it was me, the girl who had the opportunity to perform at the Taste of Charlotte Festival, they were like, oh, it's you! Oh my gosh, we're so happy! Because they knew I could sing. They knew that, you know, the radio station was being represented by someone who, you know, was also a fan, who was a musician, who was a songwriter. So it was a really inspiring situation for me. Basically, a few days before the concert, I found out that I was meeting the band, which was like before the show. I got to attend a meet and greet, which was awesome. I took my dad with me. He also loves Nickelback, and that's who I bought the album for, and he still has it to this day. It was very nerve-wracking, the day leading to performing with them. It was listening into the radio and them being like, oh, Kayla Vega is going to be singing with Nickelback. She's our rock star for the day. And, you know, really awesome and just really exciting getting to speak with the radio show, making friends with the radio as well. Now, the band was so cool. When I tell you, they were just so chill backstage and, you know, just briefing me about what was going to happen and being excited that I was there, having, you know, an on-site personnel who would, you know, take me backstage for the performance and getting to be backstage for the performance. And I got to, I forgot what song it was that I was backstage for, but it was so cool getting to see the arena, the pavilion. It was at PNC. Seeing the pavilion lit up with people's phones and seeing, you know, just how many people were there. I think it was like 13,000 people who were there. So if that doesn't get you shaking in your pants, I don't know what would. But I was not shaking in my pants. I was nervous, but it was excitement. Like I was ready to go out there. And the experience itself was so fun, getting to see, you know, what I want to do in real time, like getting to experience it, getting to hear people singing the song back. Even though it wasn't my song, it was still such a cool experience to be a part of it. I messed up the lyrics a little bit, but I was so into it, I didn't care. I knew they were singing live because they were following me. So, yeah, no, it was a completely unforgettable experience. So much fun. The band was cool. No, I do not keep in touch with them, but Chad Kroger, hit me up. I love you. I would love to work with them, one day and, see what would go from there, basically.
Now, will you consider that as your biggest achievement to date?
I would say that is probably my biggest achievement. I think that is one of the coolest ones. Not many people can say that they've done that, and there's a lot of cool things that I've done so far, but yeah, I'd probably say that's like my one humble brag that I have. In the day and age of social media, it's obviously very hard for people to hide behind a screen and to say whatever they want with no consequence. So when you have a level of a safety net, you get a lot of negativity. So when I was on Dr. Pimple Popper, I received a lot of hate. Believe it or not, I still kind of come across, I'm not looking for it, but it just comes up because it's who I am. My internet knows who I am, and it'll recommend me articles that were written about me, and those articles have pinned tweets or postings about the episode that I was in, and people being very mean about my skin condition or about how I handled my skin condition, or you have OCD and you're washing your hands, that makes no sense, like make that make sense. And it's like, okay, but there's a lot of stuff that was not aired on the show. So a lot of body shaming, a lot of you need to stop eating, you need to lose weight, you'd be prettier if you were skinnier. Just dealing with that is very heavy, but I have to remind myself that, especially when it's coming from the internet, it boosts the algorithm. So you're helping me out by keeping me on the top. But from a mental health aspect, it's, just really trying to tune it out. I don't manage my own social media. I have help with that because if I saw what people were saying about me, I probably would stop doing what I was doing to some degree, or I would just get off of social media because people say some really mean things because I have short hair, I'm gay, or a man, or I want to be a man, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but people are just, they assume they're very mean-spirited, but it's just really standing firm in my belief system of who I am and what I do, and standing firm that, I make good music, that I am a pretty person, I am beautiful, and we're all different, and just ignoring that negative feedback because it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Now, can you tell me a time where your music has made a significant impact on someone?
Let me think about that one real quick. A significant impact. Okay. I met this young lady. Her name is Laura, and she writes songs. And this was a while ago. This was probably 2014, I want to say. It was a hot minute ago. And she had these lyrics in a book, in a binder, and a relative of hers, an aunt, had reached out to me, and she said, I have a cousin, or her niece, that didn't make sense, so her niece was a songwriter, but she had gotten into a really bad car accident when she was a teenager. She was in her 20s, I want to say, at the time of me meeting her. She had trouble speaking, and she was just a very beautiful soul, like very beautiful soul, but just her shell was, you know, not working to the capability that, you know, it should have after an accident. So when she was in the hospital, what she would do was she would write lyrics, and she wanted, you know, to work with songwriters, hopefully, to make songs. So I had gotten in contact with her through her relative, and said, hey, like, can you send me some of your lyrics? I would like to write a song. Like, I want to, you know, write something for you. So she had sent me a few of what she would call her whips. It was her work in progress. And she would, she sent me a few songs, or lyrics, and I just found a song that resonated with me personally, and it was called Brave. And I really liked it, so I, you know, worked on it, and I got to meet her that Christmas, and I got to sing this song that she wrote for her. I was able to put a voice to it, I was able to put a melody to it, and really make something of it for her, and it just, you know, really moved her that, you know, she was able to hear a song that, you know, she wrote the lyrics for come to life, basically. I don't know if prior to her accident, if she wanted to write music, if she wanted to write songs, or if she wanted to be a lyricist, like a ghostwriter of some type. I don't know what her goal was, but all that mattered was this was something that she wanted to do now, or in that moment. I haven't spoken to her since, sadly, and I hope that, you know, she is still pursuing this, you know, newfound dream of hers, that she's still writing, and that she is still, you know, being creative, and that she's staying positive, and that she's doing better. And, you know, maybe I'll resurface the song and do something with it and reach back out to her and be like, listen, I produced it, you know, I want to, you know, do something with it. Like, let's do something. So this is where I am making my music at the moment. So I have my little setup of my dual monitors. I have an interface and some dual speakers. I have my little mic stand. Mic is not in there, but I use either like a Neumann or a Rode microphone. They work, you know, best for me. And then I have my guitar. This is my baby. This is one of my more expensive ones. This is what I record with. This is what I gig with. This is the one that has taken the most damage. I have another guitar that I play just for practice, but this is usually the one that you hear on all of my songs. So if it has guitar, this is what you are hearing. This is the baby here. And then some of these are my amps that I previously had used for gigging. I'll use this for more like busking style events, or events that require like a smaller sound setup. Like if, you know, I have like a big Bose speaker, but this is kind of what I used to start off with. So this black one here is battery operated. So if I busk in Charlotte, I'll use that one. And then this little Fishman loud box, I'll use. That's kind of what I think this is actually my first amp system. It's obviously very, 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 very beat up and like dusty and all that stuff. And then I have my ring light, which I use for like self-tapes or auditions, like if I audition for Idol or The Voice or America's Got Talent or other televised competition shows. I use this for the perfect lighting, and so mount my phone so I don't have to, you know, do anything special. It's just bam, there. And yeah, so this is my little setup, and yeah. My best advice that I can give to anyone who's trying to break through in the music industry or trying to find themselves, if they're trying to brand themselves, whatever they're trying to do, if they want to start posting on social media, you know, whatever they want to do, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. If you feel like nobody is listening, if you feel like your work isn't good enough, if you feel that you're not good enough, if you feel that, you know, whatever you feel, just do it. Do it, do it, do it, and do it proudly, do it loudly, because that is what I have done. I've never aimed to be quiet, even if I feel like an idea isn't good. Doesn't mean that someone else will think it's good. It's all subjective, and that's the wonderful thing about art, is that it's subjective, and just because you might not like it or you might not think it's good doesn't mean that the world will hate it. I like to think of a prime example. Elton John hates Crocodile Rock. He says it's too bubblegum for him, it's too generic, it's just a pop song that they pushed out. But it is a loved song. I love it, and it makes me sad to know that he doesn't like it, but that's him. It's okay for him to hate it because he has, you know, a lot of deeper cuts that, you know, he's released over the years, and I get it. I love my deeper cuts. But that doesn't mean that someone else will hate it, so just keep creating, keep pushing. You'll find your niche. If you feel that no one is listening to you, you will find your niche. Start performing, get out there, get yourself out there, get some business cards made with your information, get a website. It doesn't even have to be a paid one. Make like a Wix or something, make a blog. There's free resources out there for you. Make a social media, post yourself singing. So you can have like evidence if you want to start performing places, like, hey, this is my talent, this is what I can provide to the table. Have a good idea of pricing for booking opportunities. Network, find people who, you know, do what you do. And that's, you know, the great thing about social media is having a network. And then everything should, you know, just start following after you start doing those things. So just positive, social media, get out, perform, and find who you are.